Aloha. Hanaho. Ho'oikaika. We're back again, folks. And, I don't know why the last few days I've been getting chicken skin about this episode. I got my brother on here named Martin Palmer. And he's actually the brother of Mike Palmer, who I had a few episodes ago too. And tonight is going to answer the question we've been wondering for decades and decades. Who is the more good-looking brother? No, just kidding. I'm joking, bro. I'm joking. But
tell people vote. Go ahead. I'll see what they say. Nah, just
it would be interesting. Yeah, go vote.
No. That would not be interesting. Don't do that. Don't do that. I love my brother. I'm not like hurt his feelings.
As you can see, we all mess with each other. We love each other. In all seriousness, Martin, I've known this guy for over 20 years. His family has, like I mentioned before, has opened up the doors to all the local kids that were living out in the mainland and made us all feel very at home. Whenever we felt homesick, we always would hang out with them and had many opportunities to talk to this guy. And so I'm going to shut up now because he has a very cool, impactful story. And introduce to you my brother from another mother, Martin Palmer. Okay, go ahead, my man.
Shucks, Scav. I thought it was going to be like you asked me questions and guide this conversation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first off, if you could just kind of introduce yourself and
okay. My name is Martin Palmer. I grew up. My mom is Kanaka Maori. She's from Kahana Bay. And my dad is Maori and Italian. He's from New Zealand, the North Island, like this place called the Great Barrier Island. It's about 60 miles off the coast of Auckland. But my dad met my mom dancing at the Polynesian Cultural Center. They got married, and he ended up joining the Air Force. He was going to get drafted, but joined the Air Force, and we ended up spending plenty of time traveling around the world. But fortunately, I got to spend my childhood, a lot of my childhood growing up in Hau'ula. Went to Hau'ula Elementary, and then went to another school in town after that. But yeah, grew up over there. My mom, we didn't grow up with money. There were 6 kids. We grew up in Hau'ula, had plenty of Kanaks over there. Yeah, that's kind of my upbringing. I had 4 brothers, 1 sister. My dad was gone plenty. He served in the Air Force, but he served in Vietnam. He was gone plenty. There were plenty of times, and my mom pretty much raised us. I mean, a lot by herself, because my dad had to go serve. But then, I ended up making our way because of my dad's job. After he retired from the Air Force, we ended up living in San Francisco. My dad worked for the airlines for United, and then when I moved to that area, when I moved to San Francisco, it was kind of a culture shock coming from countryside and plenty Kanaks. I found myself in one different environment, and something interesting things happened, but I ended up getting moving to Utah while I was still in high school. I finished out high school over there, and then I don't know how much you make me tell. Like waste time.
Yeah, no worries, man. No, we're just rolling with it, brother. When you were talking about growing up and doing all those movements, transitioning to Hawaii and going to the mainland, how did that affect you? Like, if you could talk about how it affected you moving.
I thought about this when I was younger, but there were plenty places where I didn't have like long-term friends. I was born in Charleston, South Carolina. Then shortly after, we moved to Hawaii. And then not long after that, a few years after that, I moved to New Zealand for my dad's mom, my grandmother. My dad was the only child. She wanted to raise one other child or have a child around. So my parents went hanai me to her. And I wasn't there very long, but then I moved back to Hawaii. Then from there, we moved to New Jersey for a couple of years, then back to Hawaii. And so in all that movement, I kind of felt like, I didn't have long-term friends as a child. Now I get friends like you, like 20 plus years. at the time I was like, I don't have like really strong long-term friendships, but I was young at the time, so that's one of the ways that it affected me. um and I'll be honest, like a lot of the movement taught me how to how to I don't say behave, but how to assimilate sort of in that those other environments. Like going from Homestead to New Jersey, that was small kind culture shock, like little something. But as a kid, you don't realize it, but I ended up being able to, I feel like, I don't want to say assimilate. I didn't like take on their culture or whatever, but you know what I'm saying? Like I could fit over there. And then same thing, I kept moving. And so I was like, you're trying to like figure out who you are growing up, trying to fit in, and so every time we moved, there was, I'm come in contact with these different cultures and come to become friends with them, become integrated in some respects with those cultures.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I know what you mean. Having to adapt to changes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Constantly moving back and forth. That's a huge deal. What about what you do for work now? Could you talk about your career?
Yeah, funny thing, man. I'm a dentist. I've been a dentist for 10 years. Went to school in Arizona, a place called Midwestern University. I was fortunate to go there with one of my closest friends, one of our closest friends, Pono Kelly, another Kanak, which was awesome. It was great to have him, to be in my class, to go through that experience with him. So grateful for that, for him. And but yeah, right now, currently, I'm actually in Washington State, in one real. I mean, it kind of feels like country back home, man. Like way out in the middle of nowhere. Get plenty natives, Indians. I'm over here with this place called Roger Sucks Health Center, and I'm out just doing what's referred to as locum tenens. I'm a traveling dentist for right now. Sometimes I have like a employment company. They contact me and say, "Hey, we got this job out here," and fortunately, it allows me to like set how much I want to make, what days I want to work. Like I like work 4 days a week. Sometimes I don't have a choice, but I mean, they have their own parameters, but I tell them, this is what I like make. This is how long I like work, what days I like work, and it works out pretty good. I know my wife and my kids, so it's kind of one adventure. But yeah, that's about where I'm at with my career right now.
That's cool, brother. And folks, I've been hoping this brother can move back home to Hawaii too. I'm sure there's opportunities for fix people's teeth over here.
It's a good thing about Hawaii, bro. Always gonna have puka teeth. Just kidding.
That's true though.
Everywhere I get puka teeth, bro.
Yeah. You're talking about like triumphs and challenges in your life. What would you say are like some of the triumphs and challenges you've been able to accomplish, go through, overcome? And go ahead, brother.
Triumphs and challenges. I'm gonna start off with my challenges, I suppose. But I get severe ADD. It's very, like unfortunately, at this point in society, a lot of people are aware of what ADD and the challenges that people with ADD have. But that's been a challenge for me. Was certainly a challenge going back to school. Like I did well in school. I had a great memory, but it was challenging when I later in life, and that was compounded by some of my other challenges. As a child, I endured some pretty traumatic experiences that dealt with abuse. Fortunately, it was outside of my family. I say fortunately, but I come from one aloha family, but solid, and but yeah, those challenges really led to a lot of that trauma. Really led to a lot of other challenges in my life. And I know hopefully that the men and women, whoever's listening to this, will hopefully there's somebody out there can relate, but growing up, experiencing having these traumatic experiences, abuse, really led to a lot of confusion in my own life, not knowing how to deal with that kind of stuff, and trying to make sense of it with a 6, 7, 8-year-old mindset. That doesn't work when you start getting 15, 18, 20, when you're an adult, and because of those things, it really led me to a lot of, drug abuse, alcohol abuse. I was, for all intents and purposes, when I say it, I get this bad impression in my mind, or this image, but I was a drug addict. I was drinking plenty too. And I was using drugs and alcohol every day. And unfortunately, I don't know, there was nothing. Unfortunate thing is I made it out of that life. What I was going to say was, I wasn't in a situation where I was destitute. I've always been, coming from where I came from, like I was always hustling, like always doing something. Always trying to sell this or that and make money, because we never have money, and that because of that, I was out selling cars, I was wholesaling cars, I was doing all kinds of stuff, throwing concerts, throwing raves, but that eventually led to selling drugs and drug trafficking, and being in one position. My family didn't know about any of that stuff. I think one person in my family did. My brother Mike, he kind of knew about that, I think so. But I was kind of ashamed, but I was chasing. I wasn't at the time. I really wasn't. I'm not trying to rationalize it, but I wasn't chasing or doing those things so that I could have choke money and do everything. The reality was, I was homeless at that time, and I had one job. I just caught the bus to work, but I was living on people's couches. I wanted to have one. I didn't want to do it. I wanted to help transact it for somebody so that I could make some money, so I could get one car, so I could get a better job. You know what I mean? And eventually, it might be an innocent way it starts off, but then it pretty much snowballs, man. That's how it was for me. And the whole time I knew what I was doing was wrong, man. That's the part of it. I felt the immoral nature of it. And I'm not criticizing anybody else, but just what I was doing, but I never felt good about it. And plenty of times I tried to quit drugs, quit using, get away from the lifestyle too. And for some reason you just get pulled back in. And finally, man, I had overdosed a couple times and came close to dying. And it scared me, man. And I remember one conversation my dad gave me when I was a kid. He told me, if you keep doing this, I think I had got caught stealing something, like from one store, like shoplifting or something. And my dad told me, if you keep doing this, and he laid out this timeline, this hypothetical timeline. And it said, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and it's going to lead to this, and then it's going to do this, and you're going to end up in prison, or you're going to end up dead. And one day, I realized, I'm at the last two stops. I'm going to end up dead, or I'm going to end up in prison. And it was kind of one scary thought. And I had already been locked up. That's the other thing. When I was in June, a teenager, I got locked. I was living in Cal. We moved to San Francisco. I was over there. I was already selling drugs. I was already using drugs. And I went GTA one car with my friend because we needed to get home. We were stuck in the city. And we ended up stealing this car and fall asleep in a car. Got woke up by the cops. I got put on probation and for grand theft. And about 10 days after that, I got arrested at school with possession of some serious drugs. And they was trying to put me away for 11 years, man. I was in court, was right before Thanksgiving, 1991, 31 years ago, I think. So anyway, but yeah, I was in there. It was me and three murderers, man, locked up in there the longest. We were the what they call those, we were the guys that were there the longest. We were helping out too, like in the kitchen and around the stuff. But I was going to court, and it was going to give me 11 years. That was the recommended sentence for my probation officer. And in California, there's a thing called CYA, it's California Youth Authority. And in California, back then, I don't know what the law now, but back then they could put you away till you're 26 for crimes committed as a juvenile. So I was 15. They wanted to give me 11 years, keep me in there till I was 26. And, the three guys that I was in there with, they were there for murder. They would tell me about CYA because they were all gang members and their friends that were there. And I knew some other Polynesian guys who had gone over there too. And it's no joke, man. It's like youth penitentiary. Like, I mean, imagine you 14, 15, and one 26-year-old guy stay over there, and in my mind, because of the things that I had heard, I thought, well, I'm headed, that's where I'm going. They usually follow the recommendations. And so in my mind, it's crazy that I was in a frame of mind at that time to think like this. But in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to get over there. I'm going to have to probably kill somebody. And, you know what I mean? Because that's kind of the way that it is inside, I'm not going to let nobody do nothing to me. I'm going to die before I let somebody do something, victimize me again. I've been through that as a kid. I ain't going to let nobody do that again. Just thinking about that frame of mind, like how far away I am from that, but so grateful to Keakoa, bro. So grateful to God that that's not where I ended up. And by one miracle, the last few weeks before they was going to sentence me, I was already found guilty. They was going to sentence me. They were just, it was when caseload was too heavy for this judge, and she used to give out crazy kind sentences, man. Like, so it was perfectly rational to think she's going to hand me down the proposed sentence, man. And because she had such a huge caseload, they gave. This is how I remember it. I don't know what was going on it for real, but as I remember it, they gave the part of the caseload to this Wahine who was a commissioner, or she was an attorney, and asked her if she would take part of the caseload. But that lady happened to go to school with my attorney, man. And we hadn't come up, my lawyer and my dad and my cousins, they're all police officers in Utah, parole officers, cops, SWAT, and they come up with this plan to release me if California would release me in Utah to one of my cousins who could, supervise me and make sure. And it was a police officer, and at the last minute they took that. She took that suggestion and went with that instead of giving me 11 years. And I was fortunate because my dad's cousin, who was an adult parole officer, who I'm always be grateful. I had an opportunity to tell him that a few months ago, just how grateful I am that his willingness to take me in probably saved my life, bro. I'd probably still be in prison right now. I probably would be guilty of committing some heinous crimes in prison. You know what I mean? To defend myself. But that's kind of what happened, man. And those 11 years I'm talking about, I want you to understand something that really hit me, man. And just not too long ago, within the last probably 6 months, I had this realization. But it took me 11 years to get through dental school, bro. To get through my college, go back to school and get through all of that, my residency in dental school. Thank God, bro. I never spent 11 years learning how to be on Gladiator, and I got to spend 11 years learning how to be on dentist, man. The same time frame, you know what I mean? And I'm so grateful, bro. Looking back, I'm so grateful right now, bro. Like my life is so different, and I'm just grateful to Heavenly Father for that, bro. So
Not supposed to make me not supposed to make me cry, you panty. uh, thanks for sharing that, brother.
yeah.
Uh, what would you say was the big turnaround for you? Like, what was that turning point to get your life back on track? How did that happen? If you mind talking about that.
No, I thought that I was pretty intelligent, articulate. I don't mean more so than normal. I thought I was okay and intelligent. And then when I got involved in drugs, I saw my inability, like I saw my mind and my inability um, intellectually to deal with a lot of things, you know. And I think a lot of that also had to do with still trying to cope with the trauma that I went through. But I don't know, you know, when I was caught up in that life, I hated myself. There was so much self-loathing about it. I was trying to hurt myself. I was trying to kill myself, drink myself numb, do drugs till I was numb to, you know, avoid what was happening. And I don't know if there was a one thing or if I can point to, but there was a lot of things that happened. One, that conversation with my dad always was ringing in my ears, and he probably don't remember it. Maybe he does, but you know, I will never forget it, because I always, when I saw myself, you know, living the lifestyle I was living, I thought about that all the time. And you know, and while I was doing that, I didn't really. Well, let me answer your question. There were other instances. I had another friend of mine who was had a lot of potential. He's this Peruvian kid. He was smart, good looking, very charismatic, good friend of mine. And in a hope to avoid selling, I was collecting for him. He was a drug dealer too. This guy, I watched him really mess up his life. I mean, and throw it away. And for all the potential that he had, he ended up killing himself in a very, very dramatic way. And you know, and I thought, man, I don't want to be on freaking statistic, bro. And also, you know, there were, even though I didn't necessarily, I believed there was a God. I didn't believe in God, but I just thought, you know, I've tried so many times to heal myself, try to figure out what's wrong and overcome these things. And I couldn't do it. And I finally got to this place where I was like, okay, God, if you really exist, because I pretty much gave up. I thought I was going to kill myself, like either OD again or something stupid. And I thought, man, I hope God is real. And if he's real, can I just try live like he's real and have hope in him and hope that things could change, and I will testify right now that the reason my life has changed 100%. It's not because of choices I made on my own or decisions I made on my own. It's because I was guided. Even when I didn't believe in him, there were signposts and promptings and things like that that led me to and away from that, so that I could reach a different potential and find happiness and joy in my life, you know. So
I hear you, bro. If you had any advice, I mean, you already mentioned some things already. If you had any advice to tell some other struggling brothers that are out there right now, and I know plenty gonna be listening to this one, what would you tell them?
Struggling brothers. One, we are eternal. We're eternal, man. There is a God. Our people believed in Keakoa. We should still believe in him. Aloha is about love. one thing maybe I don't know. I'm grateful for our culture. There's a lot of beautiful parts of our culture that help, help us to develop and understand what the true meaning of love is. You can find happiness and love. I'm equating those two or putting them together because you know what? What I wanted so desperately in my life was to feel love, to love, to be in a loving relationship outside of my ohana, you know what I mean? Not just, and I don't mean romantically, but I treated plenty of my good friends. I never have much, pal. I never have much, but what I had was aloha. And what that meant was I could be of service to people. If you're struggling right now and you don't know how you're going to make it, first thing I would say is, have hope, because you can accomplish anything in this life if you put your mind and your heart to it. As big as the walls are, the treasure on the other side is just as big. You just cannot quit, right? You just cannot quit. And more better, find somebody who sincerely has aloha, and you have aloha. And that means being of service to somebody, anybody, strangers, giving aloha, because when you give aloha, you can feel aloha. When you are of service to people, I know this is gonna sound maybe it sounds strange, but all the time I was not all the time, but a lot of the time when I was involved in trafficking and I wanted to leave, the reasons I never leave is because my friends' girlfriends and the kids needed something. And I felt like I was being of service, but it was corrupted service. Like I would tell myself, oh, I'm being of service. But that service in comparison to me going out and actually stopping on the side of the road and helping with these two old ladies fix their tire. And one other guy, I don't know where he came from. He showed, sorry, it's a weird story, but he showed up and he's all trying to pick up on this lady while I'm in the back taking this tire off and everything. And the lady was so sweet and nice. And she basically told him leave. And she said, when he was gone, she said, I'm so glad that you were here because he made me feel so uncomfortable. And I said, yeah, no, my pleasure. I only hope somebody will be helping my sister or my mom in the same situation. But when I left that instance and many others, man, I felt good. I felt good. And I came later to know that feeling, that aloha that I felt was God's love for his children. I felt his love. By serving other people, they can feel God's love, but you get to feel it too. Then you realize, God loves that woman enough that I saw her stop, helped her out. Or that tutu lady over there needed her yard raked or something. But small as it seems, when we stop and take time for serve other people, that's the only joy I had when I was on drugs, was trying to be of service. It was real happiness. It was real to me. I would say that when I realized that when I was engaging in giving aloha in true service, unselfish service, not for me, but for somebody else, I felt God's love for me. I was his son. And when I realized where that was coming from, when I got to a point in my life where I realized that was Keakua helping his son to feel his love and to feel love in general, I was just yeah, that's God. That's God in my life, because I made one effort to have him in my life, and that's how I feel his love, man. So to the brothers who are struggling, it's gonna be hard for hear this, but forget about yourself for small points in your day and make one effort for malama somebody. Make one effort to aloha somebody, because that's gonna change your heart and your perspective on what's possible. Because sooner or later you're gonna realize, I am good, I am strong, I have plenty for offer. If only in my aloha and my malama, that you can feel God's love. You can feel this goodness when you do that kind of stuff. That's why our culture is so beautiful, because that was such a key part of who we are as Kanaka.
Ooh. Yep. Spirit is strong, brother. I feel you on that one, bro. There's gonna be a lot of people that need to hear this. Uh, especially when you were talking about your dad. I honestly feel like for me, I don't know if I would still be around too if it wasn't for my father. You and I, we're lucky we had examples in our lives. Yeah, we had dads who gave a crap about us. They loved us unconditionally, and we have also Heavenly Father in our lives too, who's also a father. A lot of people don't think about that sometimes, but just the fact that we had fathers that we knew that cared about us, set examples, gave us advice, and even, we 40 something years old, we still remember that advice, still rings in our head today. And a lot of the other brothers who are out there that might be going through rough times, they might have kids, they might not, but they gotta consider the generations that are coming up too, because a lot of them probably not going to have maybe the blessings that we had of having a loving father. But they can be that loving father for somebody. Might not be blood, but they might be that example for that kid's thinking about stealing something from the store. The guy ready to shoot up on him. Maybe they might be able to see someone who's having a rough time and be like you, give service and just be an example to them. And in that way, they can be that father. We need more island boys like you. We need more Polynesian men like you that are making that difference in people's lives, bro. Just, crap. Just through the examples, just through the experiences and the rough times. Sharing all the dramatic experiences that we've had and how we overcame them. I have my own bouts too with thinking about suicide, but that's for something else. But hearing your story, super powerful, but hit me right to the heart. And I gotta say, there's a reason why we've been friends for such a long time, bro. I mentioned this before. There's a whole group of us guys that we've known each other for a long time, maybe 12 of us. And we kind of jokingly call ourselves the HD crew, the handsome disease crew. And all of us went through some crazy experiences. All of us, church going guys had bouts with, straying away from church and then coming back and overcoming a lot of challenges and stuff. And the reason why these gentlemen like Martin Palmer and a lot of these other guys have been good friends of mine for so long is because of the support that we have for each other. The examples that they show for me and everybody else too. Tell you, man, much mahalo for doing this one, bro. This is definitely going to be a powerful one. Like I said, I was having chicken skin the last few days, man, about this one. Go ahead. I feel like you get something like say. Go ahead.
I just say I appreciate the opportunity, but if there's somebody, brothers or sisters out there who's going to listen to this and you're feeling the struggle and you don't know how you're going to overcome or you don't see on the way out, please tell somebody. Tell somebody who malama and love you because I lost plenty of my good close friends to drugs, alcohol, suicide. And I tell you what, it may seem like, and I've been there, it may seem like there's no way out. I mean, there were definitely times when the only thing that was keeping me from killing myself was thinking about how that would affect my mom and how it would, how it would break her heart. I don't love my mama. You may or may not have a mom or a dad that loves you, or you may not feel that they love you, but I guarantee you get somebody in this world who love you. If not them, call me, text me. I'll be a friend and we can talk about it because I've been there. I've been through a lot of crap in this world and I should be a lot more pessimistic, but I tell you what, right? The world is full of possibilities. We can overcome them. I never imagined and never thought it was possible for me to become a medical professional. I still trip out. I trip out. People go, "Hey, Dr. Palmer." I'm like, "What?" Well, yeah, that's me they're talking about. I never dreamed about that. I never dreamed about where I'm at right now professionally. That was not that I ever thought. I had the worst Bugatti when I was a kid. The worst. My mom was full of silver. My poor mother, she was on the kind too, and dental assistant and her kid. Like, no more pictures of me smiling from the time I'm like 5, 6 to like I'm 9 years old, because my mom was like the kind Jaws from James Bond, all that silver in them out. For real. And then I somehow this happened. Irony of irony. And here's the crazy thing. I mentioned this quick, but I get ADD, and for me, there are certain times when the world just melts away. I'm hyper focused, and it's such a comfortable, relaxing place for me. There's a few places where that happens. One is when I'm driving on the road, long distance road trip. The other, I came to find out, is when I'm in dentistry, and I'm sitting there and I'm doing this. And all I'm focused on is how I'm gonna do this. And I sometimes you gotta be creative. And I never ever would have known that. Never would have known that, except for God prompted me. Like I didn't know what to do with my life. God was like, "Hey, I need you to be on dentist." Had he not told me, I would be like, ah. But because I felt and that he told me, I knew that there was a promise there. He's like, "I need you to be this." I knew he was going to help me, and this is what happened. I never quit, and he brought that dream to me, and because of that, I found this place in this world that I was chasing. I never would have known until I'm in a person's mouth, fixing their tooth, healing them. That I'm like relaxed. It's like some people talk about going fishing, and they're like, "Oh, I love this. It's so relaxing." That's my relaxing zone right there. I never would have known that if I never take that time to have hope, have faith, and pursue God. So, yeah, that's my story, bro.
Much mahalo, man. Love
Yeah.
you big time, man. Seriously, thank you.
Yeah, love you too, brother. Good to see you. Hopefully I'll be home soon. Come over there, fix some Pukati.
You better plan on it, man. We're all hoping you come back soon, man. Yeah, folks, please post, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And if you gotta, like Martin was saying, there's always hope. There's always somebody to talk to. That's probably the best thing you can do if you are having those bad thoughts. We're all going through something right now, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. Just recently, I've been seeing online like some of these famous people that have lavish lives committing suicide. They had the guy recently, Twitch, from the Ellen DeGeneres show. He was famous and everything. He just was committed suicide, and he talked about the Power Rangers actor too. All these, just because your environment is all good and dandy doesn't mean you might be safe. There's always that love and caring and that positive mindset you got to maintain, which his brother has been able to do. So much mahalo to Martin for doing this show, man. Tune in next time for another episode of Ho'ikaika. We'll check you guys out later. Aloha.
Aloha, everybody. Thank you.